Sherl Eggert was a teacher at Roy High who she loved helping kids, was very supportive of them, and just before she died, she set up a scholarship fund for students that are struggling, who have a difficult time with reading, so that they can go through and have a chance at school where they normally wouldn't for college.
And why are you personally involved?
I was personally involved with Sherl. She was one of my very good friends. We traveled together. We'd gone on cruises together. I'm a teacher with her. She taught across the hall from me. And she asked me if I would carry on her legacy.
Okay. And then what do you got here?
This is what was read at Sherl's funeral. This tells a little bit of background about her. This was written by her daughter, Elizabeth. Sherl was born in Seattle, Washington on June 18th, 1958. She has one sister named Diane, who she was very close to growing up. The two girls were raised by their single mother, Marilyn. They moved to Portland, Oregon, and returned to Seattle, where she completed elementary and high school. Every summer, her family would vacation at the lake cabin on the Olympic Peninsula near Port Angeles. There, she would spend time water skiing and enjoying the outdoors with her sister and family. She loved boating and swimming, anything to do with the water. She also loved spending time with her grandma and would handpick berries near the lake so they could make pies together. She loved to hang out at the dock. This was one of her favorite places to be, enjoying her surroundings, losing herself in her thoughts. She talked about these memories many times since then and always dreamed about going back. After high school, Sherl went to college at Brigham Young University. This is where she met her husband, Tom. Tom first heard her beautiful voice at the Varsity Theater in BYU. He peeked into the theater to see who was singing and saw Sherl. He thought to himself, if only I could find a woman so beautiful with the voice of an angel, I could easily fall in love for an eternity. He then asked her out, and after many days later, they married in August of 1980 in the Salt Lake Temple. They had 3 children, Elizabeth, Ross, and Jared. Sherl looked forward to the time when she would have children. She was so anxious to be a good mother and longed dearly for the day that she would be able to have children of her own. She began a journal in her college days, addressing each page to her children, and she signed each page with hugs and kisses. Becoming a mother was what she considered to be her greatest accomplishment in life. Sherl made sure that her children had a warm and loving home to return to every day. Many times the smell of cookies filled the air after school. She always did extra special things for her family to ensure holidays and birthdays were memorable. Baking homemade bread bowls, cakes, or crafting with her children. The house was always decorated beautifully with reminders of the Savior throughout the home. She read to her children every night. She also took foster children in her home while her children were young. Sherl received her undergraduate degree from BYU while juggling her duties as a mother of 3. While her children were still small, Tom lost his eyesight. But when Tom went blind, she continued to take care of the children and the home while Tom defied all odds and continued to teach school to provide for the family. A few years later, Sherl was called to be state primary president, where she touched the lives of many children, particularly those in Spanish-speaking wards. When Tom finally retired due to his loss of eyesight and the children had grown, Sherl obtained her graduate degree from Utah State University. She began working as a high school special ed reading teacher at Roy High School. Sherl was the most dedicated teacher and pushed her students, who many times had been pushed aside in the past, to achieve their very best. Many of these students had never read a book in their life before starting in her class, but she knew they were capable of so much more. Her first grandchild, Mally, was born in 2006, whom she loved dearly. Sherl carried on traditions that her grandma had passed on to her by making berry pies together with Mally. Tragedy struck in 2007. Sherl was nearly killed in a car accident. While she did not lose her life, she did lose her leg and her sister-in-law, Kathy. She was dedicated to recovering so that she would quickly return to the students that needed her. Despite doctors' recommendations, she returned to work in a wheelchair just weeks after her amputation, far ahead of the schedule that her school would have accepted. The school placed her in a position of managing the department's testing and paperwork to make her transition back to school easier for her. After about 2 weeks of this, Sherl announced that she had had enough of paperwork and she would be returning to her classroom because she was called a teacher for a reason, and she could not teach or reach kids from the office. The next day, she went back into her classroom. Mother's Day weekend 2011, she learned that she had aggressive terminal cancer and was given weeks to live. She fought a difficult yet admirable fight, thanks to the Huntsman Cancer Hospital, undergoing months of chemotherapy. As always, she looked for the positives in this trial. She commented that she was so grateful that she was the one to get cancer because her children were able to be tested and detected for what may have become early signs of cancer for them also. She demonstrated perseverance and strength as she chose to continue to teach until about a month before the cancer finally won. Because of her amazing accomplishments, Roy High School has started a scholarship in her memory. She, of course, was the first to contribute to this fund. She will continue to touch the lives of children even after she has moved to the next life. She would never let the hard times upset her, and not for one moment did her faith decline. She'd always say, "The good Lord will never give you more than you can handle," even until her last breath. She was an inspiration to everyone she met and a hero to her students and family. I'd like to end with a poem. This is an amazing story of the woman who wanted no glory. Hers was a life filled with trials and strife. Challenges to her would always come, but she was never one to run. To everyone that she did meet, she was always kind and sweet. People love her wherever she goes. She enjoyed being with all that she knows. There is not a mountain too high that she won't at least give a try. She is a devoted mother like no other. Being a wife was her favorite part of life. Being a grandmother gave her so much joy. First her granddaughter, next is the boy. Throughout her life, she has been such an example. The number of those who knew her and loved her are ample. She was dedicated to the life of a teacher. Each student she loved and became a reacher. She took it upon herself to set the lead and wanted to make sure each child could read. She was so dedicated to her work, never for a moment did she shirk. The example for us has been set. She was the person no one can forget. Dear, dear Sherl, we are gathered here to say goodbye, and now with your angel wings you will fly. We will miss your sweet spirit here, but we know that you will always be near. Each and every heart here you have touched. We want you to know we love you so much. We send you our fondest farewell, as you now have gone from heaven to do well, to dwell.